Hi troops, final update. So the judge has handed down his sentence this morning. He ran through a summary of his reasoning. It was sounding brilliant there for a bit. He had the option of what's called a Section 17 order, which would be a non-conviction order, even though the jury had found him guilty. The prosecution had opposed that order. So the prosecution had said in their winding up that Paul's been penalised enough, punished enough for his actions. But then on the other hand, the exact opposite. They've said, oh, we oppose a non-conviction order. Because clearly they don't think he has been punished enough, because now he has this conviction hanging over him for the rest of his life. So, yeah, where's the being punished enough? Anyway, so, the judge didn't allow the Section 17 order. So the conviction is recorded. And then obviously there were other penalties available for the judge to impose. And in the end, he's imposed $1,000 for each charge, so a total of $2,000 fine. And that's the full extent of the punishment. So, has justice been served? So the situation was, the initial prosecution team brought in all the charges, guided by the police prosecutor. I think it is how it works. The police prosecutor looks at the evidence that they have on hand and decides what charges they are, and then the public prosecutor carries on with it. So a new prosecution team came on the scene somewhere along the line, possibly this year or possibly late last year. They've clearly had a look at the evidence and had offered Paul to drop those two charges that the jury sat in adjudication of. So they offered to drop those charges if Paul pleaded guilty to the other charges that the jury didn't know about. So clearly the prosecution were of the opinion that they couldn't make those charges stick. And I think, and this is just my opinion, that the prosecution were as surprised as the rest of us that the jury found him guilty. And then they've gone away and decided, undoubtedly for a variety of reasons, including some applications that would have been pending from Paul's team, and in the light of that knowledge, perhaps, and the goodness of their heart, they decided to drop all the other charges. So they got their little bit of skin, they got their tick, they got their win. So it seems that's all they were after. They were after a win, and they got it in a way they weren't expecting. And so they dropped the other charges and then opposed the Section 17 order. If that Section 17 order had gone ahead, then no conviction would have been recorded. And as the prosecution said, Paul has suffered enough. He's been punished enough. But no, the prosecution decided that wasn't enough and opposed that option. And the judge, in his discretion, decided that that was the case as well. So I don't see that justice is being served here. The seriousness of the offence was minuscule. The charge was outrageous to begin with for the circumstances. and a beautiful man's last 3.5 years has been, well, complete torment for him, and now his future, he has this shadow hanging over him, potentially affecting his ability to do the type of work that he wants to do with his truck or with whatever vehicle he chooses to have in the future. Oh, and then his truck. So that's a different matter altogether. So the judge is not able to, in this case, able to make any directions regarding the truck. That's a civil matter. So Paul's been charged with criminal charges, but they have confiscated his truck, and it's a civil matter. So that is still up in the air. So that's another court case that he has to go through, or at the minimum paperwork that he has to submit, and who knows what the situation there is, I don't know. So it's not over. He still doesn't have his truck. The judge made some recommendations regarding the truck, essentially that it should be returned to him. They weren't his words, but that was what he was implying, that the truck should no longer be held. So hopefully whoever is in charge of that on the prosecution side will take note and will release the truck in the most expedient way possible. So, hi Pam, justice they lie, make you suffer as punishment they do. Horrific false charges. Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's been, the last 3 years have been such an eye-opener in how the legal system operates. So you can be charged with something, you show up in court, and they've dropped those charges, and then they've slid in several other new charges that you knew nothing about until the day that you're in court. Yeah, what sort of system's that? There's just so many facets of how our legal system operates that are absurd. If people understood what goes on, there'd be an outcry. You know, you kind of question so many things. So after the guilty verdict, the jury were released, and then we had a break, and the prosecution team sat down with Paul's team to negotiate the penalty. What? So it seems to be that the prosecution has a big role to play in what the penalty is. So, and the judge has to listen, well, I assume he has to, because he does. Every time we've been in court, in the magistrates' court or in the Supreme Court, the prosecution makes their recommendations on what the penalty should be. And the magistrate or the judge pay attention to it, and they're guided by it. What? What is that? What is that? The judge is there. They're meant to be determining what a fair penalty is. It's the prosecution's job surely to bring their case, but they get a say in what the penalty is? What is that? I don't understand. That's not the way a normal person on the street thinks the system works, surely. Am I wrong? What happened, Aracod? So the jury found Paul guilty of drive at police charges. The prosecution then dropped all the other charges. I believe they were not anticipating that the jury would find him guilty. So they dropped all the other charges that the judge was going to hear and make a judgment on, because the prosecution said Paul has been punished enough by the 3.5 years of the process of getting to court. And yes, he absolutely has. And then there was an option for the judge to not record a conviction. That's called a Section 17. So based on the individual circumstances of the case. So that was a viable option for the judge to not record a conviction even though he had been found guilty. The prosecution opposed that. So in the end, yes, he has had a conviction and he has been fined $2,000, $1,000 for each charge. So yeah, that's how it sits. So on the one hand, the prosecution said after the verdict that Paul had been punished enough. And then on the other hand, the prosecution has opposed the possibility of no further punishment. So Paul could have gone ahead with his life with no conviction, but instead the prosecution has put their boot in and recommended that the conviction be recorded, and that's what's happened. So yeah, good on you, mate. Can't have it both ways. So he's trying to save face on some level. Yeah, two completely contradictory statements there. So yeah, so Paul's very relieved. He can almost put this matter behind him. He still doesn't have his truck, so he's got to get that back. And the judge has made statements to the effect that yes, he should be able to get his truck back. So hopefully I've caught you all up there. Yeah, no, people who haven't sat in court for 3 years watching all sorts of absurd things happen have no understanding what a farce it is. Yeah, so the initial charges were 2 charges that carried 15 years imprisonment. He was never going to jail. Never. The severity of what happened never ever met the standard of going to jail. Never. And so, to think, oh, he got off lightly. No, he bloody well didn't. He was never going to jail. Those charges were ridiculous. And on technicality, I'm not having a go at the jury at all. The jury did what they could do in the circumstances. There were technicalities, definitions, and there's no definition in the law about what a sustained substantial risk. That was one of the definitions that the jury were questioning. What is that risk? What level? And there was not very much direction to be given on that. So it was pretty much up to the jury to work that out for themselves. So yeah, it's been a hard slog for the jury, definitely for Paul and his team, his family. It's a beautiful family. Yeah, so the jury did their job. That's fine. It's everything else that went on around it, which stinks. It stinks. Justice was not served. The penalty he's already paid is immense. His mental health has suffered. His physical health has definitely suffered. The anguish, the anxiety, all of that. Oh, for what? He drove at less than walking pace in a crowd towards the police officers who put themselves in front of the vehicle. Nobody was ever in danger from Paul's actions. Families were walking beside him with the truck. If you thought your family was in danger, you wouldn't be anywhere near the truck. Anyway. So yeah, that's the situation. So yeah, it continues, trying to get his truck back. He's got 6 months to pay his fine. People have already put money in to help him with that. And the other aspect of it is when he does get his truck back, if he gets his truck back, it's been sitting out in the weather for 3.5 years, broken window, there's pigeon poo, mice poo all through the cabin, and all the mechanical issues that would arise from having a vehicle sitting there for that long. And the paintwork is stuffed, there's rust in the roof, a whole bunch of things going on. So yeah, the estimate to get the vehicle back into operational order, conservative estimate, $80,000 to $100,000. So yeah, there will be some calls for people to assist with funding, so that'll be going out sooner or later. Michael Gray Griffiths will be putting some information out about that, no doubt. So his Facebook page is Michael Gray Griffiths Interviews, I think. So he's been here all the way through. Yeah, so we've had a nice support crew for most of the time, up to 20 people on any one day, down to about 5 on Sundays. So yeah, it's been so beautiful to get to know Michael and Paul. They have no animosity towards anybody. Paul went and spoke to the police witnesses, one of the police witnesses, after they'd given evidence just the other day, and they were in court to hear what was going on. And yeah, they had a nice chat. This is Paul. He doesn't hold any animosity towards anybody. He's just a beautiful, loving, gentle man. Astounding. They tried to paint him out as being, the worst of the worst. And in fact, he's the best of the best. He's verging on angelic. Seriously, if you haven't listened to some of the interviews that Michael Gray Griffiths has done with him, you'll see. And also on their the YouTube page, I think it's called Convoy to Canberra. Might be Convoy to Canberra. Anyway, I might find it and put a link up below in the comments. But yeah, such a beautiful man, and yeah, it's horrific that this has happened to him. But his attitude all the way through has been that God is looking after him. He's here to serve whatever God's purpose is for him. Yeah, just a beautiful man. Beautiful man. Yes, Katie. So yes, if he hadn't engaged his air brakes, then there would have been serious consequences. For it doesn't matter how slowly the vehicle's rolling without somebody being in control of it, then that's such a serious situation. So he did everything to make sure the vehicle was safe after he had to remove himself from the vehicle, and the judge acknowledged that. So yeah. Matthew. Please lie. don't understand what AZT is. Anyway, so that's the situation. I'm getting cold now, standing in the top of the had snow on the mountains again last night. Whoa, it's a bit cold. Anyway, so I might finish up there. Entertainment purposes. Yeah, yes, exactly, Pam. This is just one example of how people, really good people, are being what's the right word that I want to say there? It escapes me. It's not victimised. It's they've been pursued with a vindictive attitude by prosecution and by police. That's what we've seen over and over again. It's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. It's a free country. Okay. Yeah, I think there's it won't take long to get enough money forward to pay the fines for him. I think we're quite a fair way through that already. But yeah, if he gets his vehicle back, then hopefully our freedom community will come together to help him re-establish his vehicle. If he doesn't get his vehicle back, if the police confiscate it permanently from him, then hopefully we can all come together and get the funds together so he can get another vehicle of whatever description he wants to go ahead with. Just putting that out there. He doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve to have been tormented by the legal system for the last 3.5 years. Not at all. Hopefully our freedom family can come together and try to make some amends. There's nothing that can make it better for him for what he's gone through. But maybe we can make his future a bit rosier. Okay. We will catch you all again. Oh, exactly. Okay. Yeah, I'm so upset too. It's hard. It's been very upsetting to see this process go through and the result. But it's really hard to hold that anger when you're around Paul, because he doesn't. He doesn't. Yeah. Grateful for he's not, he was never going to be imprisoned. Never. Never. So we shouldn't be grateful for that, because that was never an option. I find it hard. Oh, yeah, I won't go there. Anyway. Okay. Hello, Boss Marvin Adventure. Not seen you on here before. I'm just finishing up. You missed it. Okay. Catch you all next time. Certainly Sunday, and in future I'll let you know what's going on with the truck. We'll keep an eye out for any legal cases in the courts regarding that. See ya. It is horrific to see such good people suffer. Yeah, thank you, Pam. Okay, catch you all next time. Bye, folks. Oh, that was the camera.